In January 2023, my journey began and promised transformation. James, have always been someone who sought spiritual connection. I lived in a quiet town in the interior of Colorado, where the mountains were silent witnesses to my prayers. At 58, I felt that I was about to enter a new chapter in my life. Something inside me was calling for a spiritual deepening that I had not yet experienced. I decided to start a spiritual retreat where I would spend 7 days in complete silence and water fasting. I wanted to distance myself from the distractions of the modern world and draw closer to God in a way I had never done before. I knew it would be challenging, but I also believed it would be rewarding. At that moment, I felt a mix of anxiety and excitement as I prepared for this spiritual challenge. It was a cold Monday morning. I remember being on the 4th day of my retreat, feeling lighter both physically and spiritually. I was on my way to a small cabin in the mountains, where I would spend the rest of the retreat. The landscape around me was serene, with snow covering the ground and the sun beginning to rise on the horizon. I felt an unusual peace, a premonition that something extraordinary was about to happen. I was calmly driving along the snow-covered road when suddenly a truck lost control and crashed head-on into my car. The sound of the metal crashing was deafening, and everything went dark. At that moment, I thought my life had come to an end, but instead of pain or fear, I felt a strange tranquility enveloping me, as if I was being embraced by something greater than myself. Suddenly, I found myself outside my body, hovering over the scene of the accident. The feeling of lightness was indescribable. I realized I was in a place of pure light, but it was not a blinding light. It was comforting and enveloping. I felt a deep peace, a total absence of pain and worry. I knew I had crossed into a realm beyond the physical, a place of sublime serenity. The environment around me was vast and infinite, filled with a vibrant light that seemed to have a life of its own. There was no sound, only a sense of complete harmony and peace. Despite being in an unknown place, I felt incredibly awake and aware, more than I had ever been. There was a divine presence around me, something that transcended human understanding. The environment around me was vast and infinite, filled with a vibrant light that seemed to have a life of its own. There was no sound, only a sense of complete harmony and peace. Despite being in an unknown place, I felt incredibly awake and aware, more than I had ever been. There was a divine presence around me, something that transcended human understanding. As I moved through this realm of light, I noticed a luminous figure approaching. It was an angel, but not like the ones we see in works of art. This presence radiated a peace and wisdom that went beyond any human description. The angel looked at me with a tenderness that warmed my soul, and somehow, I knew it was there to guide me on a spiritual journey of revelation and understanding. The angel began to show me visions of the impact of fasting and prayer in the spiritual realm. I saw threads of golden light emanating from earth, connecting directly to the sky. These threads were generated by people who, like me, were fasting and praying fervently. Each thread pierced a dark barrier, breaking through the darkness and creating luminous passages. The vision was majestic, a tangible representation of the spiritual force our pious practices can generate. As we continued, the angel revealed to me how fasting creates a shield of protection around those who practice it and their loved ones. I saw a kind of brilliant energy field forming around me, blocking negative influences and preventing spiritual attacks. This shield not only provided physical protection but also spiritual, creating a safe and sanctified environment for those who fasted. Furthermore, I was led to realize that my prayers during fasting had special authority. I saw each prayer as a golden arrow, piercing spiritual obstacles and reaching directly to the throne of God. It was a powerful vision, showing that the sacrifice of fasting was not just an act of devotion, but a means to amplify the effectiveness of my prayers. This realization filled me with a deep sense of responsibility and reverence. One of the most exciting revelations was how fasting increased my spiritual sensitivity. I felt as if my spiritual senses were being finely tuned, allowing me to perceive the presence and voice of God with a clarity and intensity one had never experienced before. This new sensitivity allowed me to discern the subtleties of the spiritual realm, better understanding the divine movements and messages God was trying to communicate to me. I also saw the importance of community fasting. The angel showed me groups of people fasting together, their spiritual energies merging to create a storm of divine power. The collective strength of these dedicated souls generated a much greater spiritual impact than any individual effort. It was a call to unity and collaboration in the pursuit of the divine, emphasizing that we are stronger and more effective when we seek God in community. Finally, the angel led me to a vision of future generations being benefited by my fasting. I saw how my sacrifice was storing spiritual blessings that would be passed down to my descendants. It was as if I was building a spiritual legacy, preparing a path of light and blessings for those who would come after me. This vision filled me with purpose and hope, knowing that my actions were having a lasting and multi-generational impact. As I continued to marvel at the vision of the angel and the golden threads of light connecting to the sky, I was transported to a new scene. This time, I saw people in various places around the world, each in a deep state of fasting and prayer. These people were in different settings, some in churches, others in their homes, and some even outdoors. What they all had in common was the intensity and sincerity of their prayers, which seemed to vibrate in the air like sacred melodies. The angel explained to me that each of these people was contributing to a great spiritual network, weaving together a mantle of light that covered the earth. It was as if each prayer and each day of fasting added a thread to this luminous web, strengthening the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. The vision was indescribably beautiful, showing the collective strength of human faith and devotion. It was a powerful reminder that even in our individuality, we were all connected by something greater. I was then taken to observe how prayers during fasting had an amplified effectiveness. I saw each word spoken with faith transform into pure energy, crossing barriers and reaching places that ordinary prayers could not. These prayers carried with them a transformative power, capable of changing realities and bringing healing and deliverance. The angel showed me specific cases of people whose lives were impacted by these fervent prayers, revealing miracles of physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. Furthermore, the angel revealed to me that fasting not only amplified prayers but also purified the heart and mind of those who practiced it. I saw how the discipline of fasting removed distractions and impurities, allowing a spiritual clarity that was difficult to achieve otherwise. This purity of heart was essential for prayers to be truly effective, as God sought those who worshiped Him in spirit and in truth. Another aspect revealed was the creation of a shield of spiritual protection. I saw how fasting, combined with prayer, formed an impenetrable barrier around the faster and their loved ones. This protection was not only against physical dangers but also against spiritual attacks. It was as if an invisible armor was placed over those who dedicated themselves to fasting and prayer, keeping them safe and firm against the forces of darkness. Finally, the angel showed me how fasting increased our sensitivity to spiritual things. It was as if our spiritual senses were being finely tuned, allowing us to hear God's voice more clearly and perceive the movements of the Spirit more precisely. I saw people receiving divine revelations, guidance, and discernment during their periods of fasting, becoming more aligned with God's will and more capable of fulfilling His purposes in their lives. These spiritual revelations opened my eyes to the depth and power of fasting. I understood that this practice was not just an act of physical discipline, but a powerful spiritual tool that connected us more intimately with God. I was deeply moved and grateful for these revelations, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and dedication in my spiritual journey. The first vision the angel showed me was of other people who, like me, were fasting and praying fervently. I saw how the golden threads of light emanated from these people, crossing the dark barrier and creating direct connections with the spiritual realm. These threads were like communication channels, allowing the prayers and intentions of these people to reach directly to the heart of God. I was amazed to realize that my spiritual actions had such a profound and tangible impact. The angel explained that fasting creates a kind of protective shield around the faster and their loved ones. I saw a barrier of bright light forming around these people, protecting them from negative influences and spiritual attacks. It was as if fasting and prayer were creating a divine fortress, offering security and peace amid life's tribulations. The vision filled me with a sense of gratitude and security. In addition, I was led to understand that fasting purifies the heart and mind. The practice of fasting removes distractions and impurities, allowing a spiritual clarity that is difficult to achieve otherwise. I saw how this purity of heart was essential for prayers to be truly effective, as God seeks those who worship Him in spirit and in truth. This revelation made me appreciate even more the importance of fasting with sincerity and devotion. Another important aspect revealed by the angel was the amplification of prayers during fasting. I saw each prayer as a golden arrow, piercing spiritual obstacles and reaching directly to the throne of God. These prayers carried a transformative power, capable of changing realities and bringing healing and deliverance. The vision filled me with a new sense of responsibility and reverence for the practice of fasting and prayer. One of the most impactful revelations was how fasting increases spiritual sensitivity. I felt as if my spiritual senses were being finely tuned, allowing me to perceive God's voice with greater clarity and precision. I saw people receiving divine revelations, guidance, and discernment during their periods of fasting, becoming more aligned with God's will and more capable of fulfilling His purposes in their lives. Furthermore, the angel showed me that fasting creates a conducive spiritual atmosphere. I saw how the environment around the faster was transformed, becoming more receptive to the divine presence. This sanctified atmosphere not only benefited the faster, but also those around them, creating a space of peace and harmony where God's presence could be palpably felt. Finally, the angel revealed that fasting also has a multigenerational impact. I saw how the spiritual blessings generated by fasting were passed down to future generations. It was as if the faster's sacrifice and devotion were creating a spiritual legacy, preparing a path of light and blessings for their descendants. This vision filled me with purpose and hope, knowing that my actions were having a lasting and multigenerational impact. The angel, with a serene gesture, began to show me visions of historical and biblical figures who had practiced fasting with sincere devotion. The first vision was of Moses on top of Mount Sinai during his 40 days of fasting. I saw how his prayers and sacrifices created a powerful connection with God, resulting in the delivery of the 10 Commandments. It was a moment of intense divine communication, where the discipline of fasting allowed Moses to receive profound revelations. Next, I saw Jesus in the desert, fasting for 40 days and nights. The vision showed him facing temptations and standing firm in his communion with the Father. Jesus' fasting not only strengthened his spirit, but also prepared him for the ministry to come. The scene was of austere beauty, revealing the strength and determination that fasting can provide in moments of spiritual preparation. Another powerful example was that of Daniel, who practiced regular fasts to seek divine guidance. I saw Daniel in his fervent prayers, interceding for his people and receiving prophetic visions about the future. His fasting and devotion created a clear channel of communication with God, allowing him to discern and understand mysteries that were beyond human reach. It was a clear demonstration of how fasting can open doors to a deeper understanding of the divine plan. The angel also showed me Queen Esther, who called for a collective fast before interceding for the salvation of her people. I saw the people of Israel in sincere prayer and fasting, united by a common cause. Through this communal fast, Esther found favor with the king and managed to reverse the decree that threatened the existence of her people. It was a powerful illustration of how collective fasting can bring about significant changes and deliverance in times of crisis. Beyond biblical figures, the angel also revealed to me examples of saints and mystics throughout history who used fasting as a means to draw closer to God. I saw Saint Francis of Assisi, who frequently fasted to strengthen his spiritual connection and seek clarity in his decisions. His life of simplicity and devotion was a testament to the transformative power of fasting, not only for himself, but also for those around him. Another example was Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who incorporated fasting as part of her life of service to the poor. I saw how her fasts enabled her to offer unconditional love and genuine compassion to those in need. Her fasting was a form of personal sacrifice that allowed her to become a channel of God's love and mercy. This vision inspired me to see fasting as a form of service to others, beyond a personal spiritual practice. Finally, the angel showed me countless anonymous believers throughout history who, through fasting, achieved intimacy with God and brought about significant changes in their communities. They were ordinary people, but their devotion and sacrifice had an extraordinary impact. These visions were a reminder that, regardless of our position or recognition, each act of fasting and prayer has the potential to touch the heart of God and make a lasting difference. The angel took me to an intense vision of the spiritual realm, where I could observe the constant battle that occurs between the forces of good and evil. I saw how the forces of darkness work tirelessly to divert believers from the practice of fasting and prayer. These attacks were not always obvious. They often came in the form of subtle distractions, temptations, and discouragement. The goal of darkness was to weaken our connection with God and prevent us from achieving the spiritual depth that fasting provides. While observing this battle, the angel explained that fasting and prayer are powerful weapons in spiritual warfare. I saw believers who, by fasting, became more resistant to spiritual attacks. It was as if they were wearing invisible armor that protected them from negative influences. This armor not only defended them, but also strengthened their ability to resist temptations and remain steadfast in faith. The vision inspired me to see fasting as a form of spiritual fortification and preparation for the battle against the forces of evil. In addition to protection, the angel showed me how fasting can break spiritual chains that keep people trapped in various forms of bondage. I saw dark chains representing addictions, spiritual oppressions, and generational curses being weakened and eventually broken by the power of fasting combined with prayer. It was a vision of liberation, showing that the sacrifice of fasting can bring healing and freedom to those who are trapped in cycles of suffering and sin. Another revelation was that during fasting, our prayers acquire greater precision and effectiveness in spiritual warfare. I saw believers who, when praying while fasting, launched spiritual attacks that were like arrows of light, hitting their targets with precision and causing significant impact in the realm of darkness. These prayers not only defended but also advanced against the forces of evil, breaking strongholds and releasing blessings. The vision filled me with a sense of urgency and purpose in the practice of fasting and prayer. The angel also showed me the importance of remaining humble and dependent on God during fasting. I saw that those who fasted with pride or for the wrong reasons did not achieve the same spiritual results. The key to effective fasting was humility and sincerity of heart. When we fast with a contrite spirit and a genuine desire to draw closer to God, our fasting becomes a pleasing offering to the Lord and generates a profound impact in the spiritual realm. Furthermore, the angel revealed that fasting can increase our spiritual authority. I saw believers who, by fasting regularly, were spiritually promoted, acquiring greater authority in their prayers and ministry. This authority allowed them to command respect in the spiritual realm and exert significant influence in spiritual battles. It was a clear demonstration that fasting not only strengthens us, but also positions us to be effective spiritual leaders. Finally, the angel showed me that while fasting is a powerful practice, it should always be conducted with wisdom and discernment. I saw believers who, by breaking their fasts imprudently or prematurely, diminished the spiritual benefits they had acquired. The importance of ending a fast with prayer and gratitude was highlighted, ensuring that we maintain the protection and blessings obtained. This vision taught me to approach fasting with reverence and respect, recognizing its power and sanctity. The last vision the angel shared was about the relationship between fasting and spiritual preparation. I saw that God often calls us to fast, not only to resolve immediate situations, but to prepare us for future challenges that we are not yet aware of. Fasting strengthens our spirit, creates resilience, and positions us to receive God's grace and wisdom in critical moments. It was a powerful reminder that fasting is a form of spiritual training that enables us to face the unknown with faith and confidence. These revelations opened my eyes to the various aspects of fasting beyond personal fortification. I understood that fasting is a multidimensional practice that affects not only our relationship with God, but also our connection with others and with future generations. It was a call to embrace fasting with a new perspective and a renewed heart, recognizing its transformative power and lasting impact. As the spiritual experience began to fade, the angel looked at me with an expression of deep compassion and understanding. His last words echoed within me. James, now that you have seen the truth, your mission is to share what you have learned. Time is short, and my people need to understand the power of fasting and prayer. With these words, a sense of responsibility overwhelmed me, an urgency to bring these revelations to the world. Upon returning to my body, I was met by doctors who were surprised by my miraculous recovery. I had been clinically dead for several minutes, but here I was, completely lucid and without any brain damage. This physical miracle was merely a reflection of the spiritual transformation I had experienced. I knew that my life would never be the same, and I was determined to live according to the calling I had received. Sharing these revelations was not just about telling a story. It was an invitation for everyone to experience the depth of fasting and prayer. I began speaking in churches, prayer groups, and communities, explaining the importance of fasting with a pure heart and sincere devotion. Every time I shared my experience, I felt the presence of God, confirming the truth and importance of the message. The response was overwhelming. People began to report their own experiences of transformation through fasting and prayer. Stories of healing, deliverance, and miracles began to emerge from all corners, confirming what I had seen in the spiritual realm. It was as if a spiritual fire was spreading, rekindling the flame of devotion in hearts that had grown cold over time. In all my talks, I emphasized that the power was not in the physical act of abstaining from food, but in the sincere pursuit of a deeper connection with God. Fasting was a tool, a means to align ourselves with the divine and open our hearts to the blessings and revelations that God wished to pour upon us. It was a call to humility, purity of intention, and a genuine desire to know and serve God. The impact of my words was even deeper than I could have imagined. I saw entire communities being transformed, families being restored, and individuals finding purpose and direction for their lives. Fasting became more than a religious practice. It became a spiritual key that opened doors to a more intimate and meaningful relationship with God. As I reflected on this journey, I felt immensely grateful to have been chosen to witness and share these truths. My life was enriched in ways I never imagined possible, and the privilege of seeing other lives transformed was an invaluable gift. The mission the angel gave me was not just a responsibility, but a source of joy and fulfillment. I knew that as long as there was life in me, I would continue to spread the message of the transformative power of fasting and prayer, touching hearts and changing lives forever. And so, my journey continues, one step at a time, guided by the divine light and the unwavering love of God. May these words inspire others to seek the same spiritual depth, finding in fasting a bridge to the divine and a path to inner transformation.